Black Aragorn is real. Because of course he is. I mean, come on. It's Hasbro, it's Wizards of the Coast's D&D and Magic the Gathering. Obviously, they were going to race swap the main characters of the Lord of the Rings because, well, they hate you. Ironically, they are racist. They hate white people. This is not a secret. This is not speculation or blowing anything out of proportions. They tell you to your face again and again. The latest example was, a couple of weeks ago, where a executive producer of Dungeons & Dragons and other Wizards of the Coast properties said that in his opinion, people like him, straight white people, could not leave the hobby fast enough, whilst keeping his own job, of course. Because weaponized hypocrisy is a firm and core fundamental principle of the modern-day wokeist left-wing movement, isn't it? Rules for thee, but certainly not for me under any circumstance. Again, there's no secrecy here, there's no obfuscation, there's no veneer of civility. They just hate white people. It's that simple. It actually is. And so, of course, like Aragorn, Israel. Now, this was already speculated for a little bit a while back with this poor piece of promotional artwork, where there was a character down here in the foreground, very notable, very standouty, clearly an important character, right? But he didn't really look like anybody, in part because of his skin color, in part because of his garb and weaponry. Now, it's a little bit Ranger-esque, people were thinking, and he's got a flaming sword. Well, Aragorn's weapon is Andúril, the Flame of the West. Now, that doesn't mean that the sword is actually on fire, mind you, but remember, if you are an anti-fan tourist that are coming into Lord of the Rings and your only interest in the setting in its entirety is the skin color of the characters and whether or not it can be used for 2023 propaganda, well, it's an easy mistake to make that Flame of the West means actually literally burning sword, now isn't it? Again, easy mistake to make. And yeah, it was probably unavoidable, and it's not the first character that Magic the Gathering has adjusted a little bit in their collaborative efforts with Lord of the Rings, as here we also have Asian Gandalf. Because why not? Just so long as he's not white, because that is what we call offensive in the modern year. But this is of course not offensive. This is perfectly fine and okay because, well, you see, it's not like anyone knows that the famously pale-faced ranger wasn't black. Of course not. Obviously. And his ancestry, we know nothing of that either, right? Except for, you know, the Númenóreans and all that. Details. If we were to argue lore, it'd be a pointless exercise because this has nothing to do with the setting. Obviously, this comes from a place of good old-fashioned racialized hatred. Simple as. There's no point in even pretending. And to be fair, to give the devil his due for once, it is possible that this is some sort of elaborate hoax, a trick, a fraud. It's potentially possible. I mean, the thing is, so this was apparently found in the trash bin outside one of the printers. You can see it's been all ruffled up and crumpled, etc. But it looks pretty convincing. Not knowing much about printing works, I've just Googled like print sheets. The sheet looks about what you'd expect from the references I found, the type of prints, the way they're layered, the logos, etc., the artwork, the text script, the description which I've had translated. It all looks pretty damn convincing. Again, it could be an elaborate ruse, entirely possible, but is it likely? Nah. Not as likely as the alternative explanation, which we've already belabored to a point of dead horsiness at this point. So yeah, This is probably going to happen. Final confirmation will arrive relatively soon. Now, you could also say that since this has been thrown away, maybe it's a rejected design. Maybe. After all, considering the absolute enormous flop of the Rings of Power, any company paying attention might be noticing that this is not a good time to be pushing the overt wokeness. And considering Dungeons & Dragons, another Wizards of the Coast property, recently received a butt-pounding of epic proportions, they might have elected that maybe this isn't the time to fuck the hornet's nest again already. But, well, if they learn from their mistakes, this wouldn't be a problem to begin with now, would it? We'll have to wait and see, but I tell you, referencing back to yesterday's topic, literally, all Warner Brothers Discovery and Embracer Group need to do to rake in cash the likes of which have rarely been seen in the cinematic universe is to just make a Lord of the Rings story. No political nonsense, no current year bullshittery, just a pure Lord of the Rings, and you will have a box office success the likes of which has been rarely seen in human history. It is virtually impossible to fail, and so I look forward to seeing how they're going to mess it up. As Magic the Gathering is of course hard at work screwing over their end of the Lord of the Rings universe. At least Aragorn remains, reasonably recognizable. That's something, right? Thank God for small mercies, etc. I mean, honestly here, the least they could have done is make them both black, and therefore maintain the racial purity that they are seemingly so obsessed with. Oh, god damn it. Okay. So, what was going to happen from here? Well, if it does get released, I imagine it'll be the outrage of the week. People will bitch and yell at it, and hopefully something will actually come out of it. The Dungeons & Dragons community was able to rally near uniformly against the new open gaming license, but the thing is, that was not a political threat. That was something that everyone from each side of the aisle could come together and unify against. Everyone who wasn't already an enormous corporate shill, that is, of course, as several members of the community of the larger parties were, shining with their absence, shall we say. But then again, to be fair, most of them have probably signed non-disparagement agreements with Wizards of the Coast and D&D already. But for this is going to be the good old-fashioned political thing, because, well, disliking white people is fine. In fact, it is something that should be encouraged. At least, that is the thought amongst rather broad spectrums of the current day left, or more correctly, the wokest horde. So, it'll be interesting to see. Of course they did. Actually, of course they did. Oh hey, maybe it's a clever marketing ruse to gain some attention via pissing off the consumer base. It's worked so well in the past, might as well give it another try for the 367th time. Or alternatively, maybe I'll just kill off the setting even faster, and hey, if we can stop cringe crossovers like this from happening, I'm all for the death of Magic the Gathering, frankly. Who knows, maybe something good can come of this as well. A nice little bonfire, for example. Cardboard-sized. Until next time, I've been Arch, thank you all very much for watching, and have a good day.